I used to think birthdays were supposed to make you feel chosen, not special in a big, movie scene way. Just, seen. Like someone, somewhere, was glad you existed. On the morning I turned 22, I woke up before my alarm, staring at the cracked ceiling fan above my bed, listening to it click unevenly as it spun. The house was quiet. Too quiet for a birthday. No smell of breakfast, no clatter of dishes, no, happy birthday, yelled down the hallway. I told myself not to expect anything. That had become my skill over the years, lowering expectations until disappointment had nowhere to land. I rolled out of bed, pulled on my cafe uniform, and slipped out the front door before anyone else was awake. My car sat in the driveway like it always did. Blue paint faded by the Florida sun. A small dent on the back bumper from when I'd clipped a pole learning to parallel parked. It wasn't fancy. But it was mine. 2 years of early mornings. 2 years of burned coffee and aching feet. 2 years of saving tips in envelopes labeled gas, insurance, repairs. Every mile on that odometer felt earned. As I drove to work, I let myself imagine something small happening later. Maybe my mom would bake one of those box cakes she liked to pretend were homemade. Maybe my dad would say something awkward but sincere. Maybe my brother, Mason, would forget until the evening and then act guilty. Nothing big, just acknowledgement. The cafe was already buzzing when I clocked in. The espresso machine hissed non-stop. Orders piled up faster than we could call them. Syrup stuck to my fingers no matter how many times I wiped them on my apron. Halfway through my double shift, while I was scrubbing dried foam off the counter, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I almost ignored it, then I saw the sender. Mom. For a split second, I smiled. A real one. The kind that sneaks up on you before your brain can shut it down. I wiped my hands, pulled out my phone, and read the message that we sold your car. Family comes first. Be grateful we let you live here. That was itno, happy birthday. No explanation. No warning, just the end of my independence in 3 short sentences. The cafe noise kept going, but it felt like someone had turned the volume down on the world. My ears rang. My fingers went numb around the phone. I reread it. Then again. Waiting for the part where she said she was joking. It never came. Before I could even breathe, another message popped up. Your brother's starting college. You'll cover his first semester. $6,000. Due this week. I stared at the screen. $6,000. They hadn't asked, they hadn't discussed it, they'd already spent it, just not yet. My chest burned like I'd swallowed something sharp. All I could think about was the car. The bus routes that didn't reach the cafe. The late night shifts I wouldn't be able to get home from. The freedom I'd fought so hard for, gone without my consent. Around me, a customer cleared their throat. Someone called my name. The espresso machine screamed. I typed one word. No. It felt illegal to send. Like I was committing a crime. My phone rang immediately. I answered, and the yelling hit me before I could even say hello. How dare you? After everything we've done for you? You're selfish. You're ungrateful. Pack your things. You're dead to us. Then the line went dead. I stood there, phone pressed to my ear, syrup drying on my hands, heart hammering so hard I thought I might throw up. On my birthday, my car was gone. My money was already claimed. And I'd been erased for saying no. When my shift finally ended, I walked out to the parking lot on autopilot. The space where my car should have been was empty, just cracked asphalt and a flickering streetlight. That's when it hit me. They hadn't threatened it, that they'd already done it. And as I started the long walk home, replaying every bill I'd paid just this once, every problem I'd fixed for them without being asked, one thought kept repeating in my head. If I'm so easy to cut off, why have I been holding everything together? By the time I reached the house, I already knew this wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning, and they had no idea what they were about to lose. The front door was unlocked. It always was. My mom liked to say we were a trusting family. What she really meant was that nothing in that house belonged to just one person, especially not me. I stepped inside and the familiar smell hit me. Lemon cleaner, old carpet, and whatever my dad had burned in the toaster that morning. The TV was on in the living room, some sports channel shouting to an empty couch. Mom stood at the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone like it was any other day. I set my bag down slowly. Did you really sell my car? I asked. I already knew the answer. But I needed to hear her say it out loud. Needed to hear how she justified it. She didn't even look up. We did what we had to do, she said flatly. Family comes first. Your brother's future matters more than your little convenience. My little convenience. 2 years of double shifts. 2 years of skipped outings. 2 years of choosing work over rest reduced to convenience. You didn't pay for it, I said, my voice shaking despite myself. I did. Every dollar. My dad appeared from the living room then, remote still in his hand. He didn't pause the game. You live under our roof, he snapped. You eat our food. You don't get to throw a tantrum because we made a decision for the good of this family. I laughed. A short, broken sound. The good of this family, I repeated. You mean Mason? Mom finally looked up. You're the oldest, Ava, she said, like she was explaining something obvious to a child. That's what being the oldest means. You give back. Give back. Like everything I'd ever done hadn't already been giving. You didn't sell his gaming setup, I said. You didn't sell your TV. You sold the one thing that was mine. My dad stepped closer, his jaw tight. We don't need permission from a child, he said. We kept you afloat for 22 years. $6,000 is nothing compared to what we spent raising you. You owe this family. There it was. Not love. Not gratitude. A ledger. I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized something terrifyingly clear. In their eyes, I wasn't a daughter. I was a resource. If I'm dead to you, I said quietly, then stop spending my life. I turned toward the hallway. My dad reached out, his hand brushing my shoulder a little too hard as if to stop me. It didn't knock me over. It didn't scare me. It made me angry. And anger, I would soon learn, was far more dangerous than fear. I closed my bedroom door and stared around the space I'd been calling mine. The mismatched furniture. The shelves where my mom would borrow things without asking. The desk where I'd done their taxes, fixed their Wi-Fi, set up their banking apps because you're good with this stuff. I grabbed a duffel bag. Clothes first. Laptop. External hard drive. Then I hesitated, my eyes landing on the router in the corner of the room. The network cable snaking out of it like a lifeline. I smiled for the first time all day. They didn't notice what I left running that night. They didn't notice what I quietly disconnected. They didn't notice anything until the next morning, when my mom started crying, my brother started screaming, and my dad suddenly didn't have words anymore. And that's where things finally started to change. I slept on a friend's couch that night. No car. 2 bags. 1 charger plugged into the wall like a lifeline. At 6:14 a.m., my phone exploded. Not a good morning text. Not an apology. Panic. Mom, the Wi-Fi isn't working. Did you mess with it? Dad, the bank app won't log in. Brother, my laptop won't connect to anything. Fix this. I stared at the screen, the glow lighting up the dark living room. For years, I'd been the invisible system keeping that house running. I paid bills. Reset passwords. Handled accounts they never bothered to learn. I was the reason things just worked. And now, they didn't. I typed nothing. At 7:02 a.m., another wave. Mom, the electric company says the autopay failed. Dad, our card was declined at the gas station. Mom, Ava, answer your phone. I rolled onto my side and finally replied, with one sentence. I don't live there anymore. The typing bubbles appeared instantly. Disappeared. Reappeared. Then the call came. I let it ring. By 8:30 a.m., the messages shifted from angry to desperate. Mom, we're just stressed. You know how your father gets. Dad, come back and we'll talk like adults. Brother, Mom's crying. You're being dramatic. Dramatic. Not selling my car without asking. Not demanding $6,000. Not telling me I was dead to them. Me not fixing their mess was the drama. I opened my banking app. Every recurring transfer to my family, gone. Shared subscriptions, cancelled. The joint savings account my mom had access to? I'd already separated it weeks ago, quietly, after noticing withdrawals I couldn't explain. They thought they'd pulled the rug out from under me. They had no idea I'd been slowly pulling my hands away for months. At 10:11 a.m., my mom finally sent the text she'd been avoiding. "Where are you?" I stared at it for a long time before replying. "Somewhere my things don't get sold without permission." There was no answer. Until noon. My dad's number flashed across the screen. I answered. His voice was different now. Lower. Careful. "You need to come home," he said. "We can figure this out." "There is no home," I replied. "You made that clear yesterday." "You're overreacting," he snapped, the old tone creeping back. "This isn't how family works." "No," I said. "This is exactly how our family works. I just stopped paying for it." Silence. Then, quietly, "Your brother's tuition is due." I almost laughed. "That's not my problem," I said. "You sold my car. Use that money." The line went dead. That afternoon, I checked my email. A notification from the DMV. Vehicle transfer completed. They hadn't just sold my car. They'd rushed it. That told me everything I needed to know. Because people only rush when they're desperate. And desperation makes mistakes. Big ones. By evening, the desperation turned sloppy. That's when my phone buzzed with an email notification, not from my parents, but from the used car dealership where my car had been sold. Subject line, ownership verification issue. I sat up. They hadn't expected that. See, my car wasn't just emotionally mine. It was legally mine. Title in my name. Insurance in my name. Purchase receipts saved on my external hard drive. The only thing my parents had was access to my house, my trust, and my silence. And I had finally taken all three away. I opened the email. "We're contacting you because the individual who sold the vehicle stated they were an authorized owner. Our audit flagged inconsistencies. Please confirm whether you approved this sale." My hands were steady as I typed back. I did not authorize this sale. The vehicle was sold without my consent. I attached everything. Title. Purchase history. Insurance records. Text messages, especially the one that said, "We sold your car. Family comes first." I hit send. 5 minutes later, my mom called. I didn't answer. Then my dad. Ignored. Then my brother, voice memo this time, shaky and fast. "Ava, this is getting serious. Dad's freaking out." The dealership called. "Why are you doing this? Why?" As if I woke up and chose chaos. As if they hadn't chosen my birthday to strip me of independence and demand money like I was property. I replied with one sentence. "Because you sold something that wasn't yours." At 9:47 p.m., my mom finally texted what she'd been circling all day. "We can put the money back. Just fix the mess you made." I read it twice. The mess I made. I set my phone down and let the silence stretch. Then I stood up, grabbed my laptop, and opened one more folder, the one labeled Backup. Inside were screenshots I'd taken over the past year. Unauthorized transfers. Shared logins. Emails where my mom had reset passwords pretending to be me. Payment confirmations tied to accounts I never approved. I told myself I was being paranoid. Turns out, I was being prepared. At 11:02 p.m., I sent one last message. "I'm not fixing anything. You can speak to the dealership." And if they involve the police, that's between you and them. 3 dots appeared. Then vanished. Then my dad called again. I answered this time. His voice was different, tight, afraid. They're talking about fraud, he said. You need to tell them it was a misunderstanding. No, I replied. You need to tell them the truth. What truth? He snapped. That you sold my car, I said calmly, and thought I wouldn't fight back. He exhaled sharply. You're really going to do this to your own family? I smiled, even though he couldn't see it. You did this to yourselves, I said. I just stopped covering for you. The call ended. And for the first time since my birthday, I slept through the night. Because for once, they were the ones lying awake. Worried. Counting losses. Waiting for consequences. The knock came at 8:12 a.m. Not a polite one. Not a casual one. The kind of knock that says something has already gone wrong. I looked through the peephole. My dad. Standing stiff. Jaw tight. Hands shoved into his jacket like he was holding himself together. I didn't open the door. Ava, he called through the wood. We need to talk. I leaned against the doorframe on my side, arms crossed. You already said everything you needed to, I replied. Silence. Then his voice dropped, quieter, controlled. The dealership voided the sale. I closed my eyes for a second. Good. They're demanding the money back, he continued. And they filed a report. I waited. No apology yet. Just logistics. They're saying it could be criminal, he said, finally. We didn't know it would go this far. That's when I opened the door, just enough for him to see my face. You sold my car on my birthday, I said evenly. You demanded $6,000 I never agreed to pay. And you told me I was dead to you when I said no. His eyes flicked away. I didn't mean it like that. You did, I said. You just didn't think there would be consequences. He rubbed his forehead. Your mother's a mess, he muttered. Mason's panicking. The tuition. I cut him off. Not my problem. He looked at me sharply. He's your brother. And I was your daughter, I replied. Until I said no. That landed. Hard. He swallowed. What do you want? He asked. I didn't answer right away. I thought about the double shifts. The birthdays with no cake. The way my independence had always been treated like community property. I want my car returned, I said. Or the full amount wired to me. Today. And the report, he asked carefully. That depends, I replied. On whether you ever touch my money, my credit, or my name again. He nodded slowly. Then came the part he wasn't ready for. And, I added, you're removing me from every shared account. Today. While I watch. He hesitated. I raised an eyebrow. Or we let the dealership handle it. 10 minutes later, he was sitting on my couch, hands shaking slightly as he logged into the bank. I watched every click. Every removal. Every access revoked. When he was done, he stood up. You didn't have to destroy us, he said quietly. I met his eyes. You weren't destroyed, I replied. You were exposed. He left without another word. At 3:46 p.m., the wire transfer hit my account. Full amount. At 6:10 p.m., the dealership emailed again. Issue resolved. Thank you for your cooperation. And at 11:58 p.m., my mom sent one final message. We raised you better than this. I stared at it for a long moment. Then replied. You raised me to survive. This is just what that looks like. The silence after everything settled was strange. No more frantic calls. No more guilt-drenched texts. No more family meetings. Just quiet. For the first time in my life, nobody needed me to fix anything. That was when it really hit me. I wasn't free because I got my money back. I was free because they finally understood I was not available anymore. 2 weeks later, I bought another car. Nothing flashy. Used. Reliable. Paid for with my money, in my name, with my credit. When I signed the paperwork, my hands didn't shake. I didn't feel angry either. I felt calm. That calm scared them more than my anger ever could. My brother Mason texted me once. Just one line. "Mom says you've changed." I stared at it, then typed back. "No." I stopped disappearing. He never replied. My dad tried once more, a month later. He showed up unannounced again, this time with a softer voice and a rehearsed apology that never quite said sorry. "We were under a lot of pressure," he said. "You know how your mom gets. We just assumed you'd understand." I nodded. "I do understand," I said. "That's why this doesn't work anymore." He frowned. "So that's it?" "Yes," I replied. "That's it. No shouting. No tears. No slammed doors. Just boundaries." And for people who lived off my silence for years, boundaries felt like cruelty. On my next birthday, I didn't get a text from my mom. No demand. No guilt. No reminder of what I owed. Instead, I woke up early, took myself to breakfast, and watched the sun hit the windshield of the car they couldn't touch anymore. I realized something then. They didn't sell my car because family came first. They sold it because I always came last. And the moment I stopped paying for their comfort, they stopped pretending I belonged. That used to hurt. Now, it feels like peace. They thought taking my car would break me. Instead, it taught me exactly how to walk away.